The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. We're going to get started here in just one second. I am sharing my presentation right now, my screen right now, so please let me know if you guys can't see that. I'm just getting the last few things set up here. All right, looks like we have about 22 attendees in the webinar right now, so I'll get started, and everybody could just join us as if anybody else trickles in. So first of all, welcome to the webinar. Glad you guys could all make it. My name's Kyle. I'm the CTO here at A-Team. And this webinar is about how to manage OKRs at scale. So first of all, I hope everybody's in the right place. I hope everybody's having a great day and is excited to learn about not really learning about OKRs, but specifically how to manage them at scale, how to manage them in practice. And it should come as no surprise to you guys that being the CTO of a software company, I think that the best way to do anything at scale is to use software. Software is great for doing things at scale. And here at A-Team, we are an OKR goals management software platform. We specialize in OKRs and CFRs, conversations, feedback, and recognition. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But basically, we help you manage your entire OKR lifecycle within your company. And so we really believe that using dedicated OKR software to manage your OKRs is the best way to do it as a growing business, as a small to mid-sized business that's growing. It's really important that you can manage OKRs at scale, and that's what we specialize in. So before I go any further, and as people are still joining, I see a few more have joined. I wanted to just go over the agenda, what we're going to be covering in this webinar. So first of all, the first thing I should say is if you guys have questions at any time, feel free to stop me. I'm also going to leave time at the end of this webinar for probably about 15 minutes of questions. So, stop me at any time during the webinar, or you could hold them till the end. The first thing that we're going to cover is how software unlocks OKR superpowers at scale. And the important thing to mention about this webinar too is that this isn't going to be an OKR 101 webinar. This is going to assume that you guys have some prior knowledge about OKRs, whether or not you've done them within your company or maybe just done research on them. It's going to assume that maybe you've heard of this book, Measure What Matters by John Doerr. That's where these superpowers are coming from. It was released back in April, and it's created a lot of enthusiasm and buzz about OKRs. But really, OKRs are a methodology for managing goals that have been around for a while. And so these superpowers that I'm referring to are coming directly from John Doerr's book that basically details how OKRs have helped companies like Google, Intel, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to do really amazing things. And in particular, I'm going to talk about how software unlocks those superpowers at scale. And there's really three phases to this. So the most important thing to mention here is that it's great that OKRs have these superpowers, but when you get to the implementation phase, when you want to roll them out within your company, you have to have some sort of OKR lifecycle around planning, collaborating on, tracking, and then improving your OKRs from quarter to quarter. And that's where software can really help. So during this webinar, I will be jumping back and forth between the slideshow that you're seeing now, and then also we're going to jump into a demo environment of A-Team to show you in practice how you can use software to unlock these superpowers. All right, so let's actually get started here with a little interactive piece. I'm curious, we have 25 attendees, 26 now. I'm going to launch this poll in GoToWebinar, and I'm curious to know, what is your company's experience level with OKRs? So do you guys have a lot of experience? Have you been using OKRs internally for multiple quarters? Maybe some experience, you're just getting started with them. Little experience, you're about to start, you're thinking about starting with OKRs. Or do you really have no experience with them? I hope nobody falls into the very last bucket there. We've never heard of them. As I said, this is definitely not going to be an OKR 101 presentation. So if you haven't heard of OKRs, you're probably going to feel a little bit lost. All right, so the results are trickling in here. Just like, give it a few more seconds. Okay. So it looks like most people have voted, and so I'll close this up. So it looks like the majority of people fall into buckets B or C, which is great. So a lot of you have some experience, meaning that you're still learning how to use OKRs effectively. And a lot of you have a little bit of experience and you're just getting started or you're thinking about starting, which that's actually perfect for this presentation. I would say that software is most effective if you fall into one of those first two buckets. If you have a lot of experience already, or if you have some experience, software is going to be really effective for managing OKRs. But to be honest, it's also very effective if you have a little bit of experience or you're just getting started. It's going to depend on your comfort level with technology in general. If you guys are already using a lot of software, cloud software within your company right now, it's probably going to be easy to adopt another piece of software because you're used to doing that. It'll also be it'll be a lot easier to get started with OKRs and dedicated software if you know that you're going to commit to them. So if you have that executive buy-in and you know that you're going to be doing OKRs for at least a year, it could be tough to start with something like Excel or Word documents and then transition all of that information into OKR software 2 quarters later or 3 quarters later. So if you do have executive commitment to be doing OKRs for at least a year, but you're just getting started, I would also recommend software in that scenario because it's just going to make the onboarding and the continual process a lot easier over the course of a year or more, hopefully. All right, so let's get into those superpowers. As I mentioned, a lot of this is coming from John Doerr's book, Measure What Matters. He lists 4 superpowers in that book. And I will say that if you haven't read that book, you haven't heard of it, definitely Google it, check it out, go buy it on Amazon. It's got, like I mentioned, a lot of great case studies, not just from tech companies like Google or Intel. It also has case studies from like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and Bono's charitable foundations and things like that. So it's not just about tech companies using OKRs. It's really any company who just wants to unlock these 4 different superpowers. So the superpowers, just to quickly go over them: focus and commit to priorities. OKRs allow you to align and connect. They allow you to track and hold people accountable for what they're committing to in terms of their goals. And they help you stretch for amazing. Software is great for the first 3. It is really good for those. And I will say software can also help on number 4, but to be honest, number 4, stretching for amazing, that's more of a cultural thing. So not here at A-Team, we have a lot of different customers, a lot of different industries. Not all of our customers are comfortable setting these aspirational moonshot type OKRs, and that's fine. John Doerr actually recommends that you should have a mix of committed and aspirational OKRs, and we've seen that work best with our customers as well. A committed OKR is something maybe like a hard revenue target that you have to hit, where it's just, sell $300,000 this quarter. Whereas a moonshot could be something like revolutionize the OKR software industry. That might be a moonshot for us here at A-Team. And you do a mix of those because not everything you do is going to be stretching for these amazing outcomes, but you should set a few of those. And software, again, that's a cultural thing within your company. So software can help you get better at OKRs, but at the end of the day, each company is going to be different in terms of whether you want to focus more on committed goals or aspirational goals. Now I want to take a step deeper in this and go into not just what are the superpowers themselves, but how do you unlock them in practice. So again, like I said, this is going to be a very practical webinar, and it's going to focus on how software helps you unlock these superpowers in practice. And the most important thing to point out here is that in practice, these superpowers don't exist in a vacuum. They exist within the context of an OKR lifecycle that happens normally quarterly or annually. We recommend for our customers that they probably should start with quarterly OKRs, maybe add some annual OKRs on top of that once they get more comfortable committing to things. So in order to unlock these superpowers, all of our customers, I see them go through these 4 phases, and it normally happens quarterly. And so you're going to start out with OKRs, whether it's the first time you've ever done that or whether it's a brand new quarter and you've been doing them for years and years successfully. You're always going to start that new phase, that new life, the new cycle with planning alignment of goals across the company. And that's going to take a combination of your leadership team setting high-level objectives across the company, across your functional departments, and then it's going to have a component where the employees and managers across your teams are also going to set their own goals. And of course, the alignment is the really key part there, where you want everybody in your company aligned on what they're trying to accomplish, aligned with the business goals. The next phase is you actually get into the execution phase. And so you're going to be collaborating and checking in on those OKRs regularly. And at the admin, HR, or executive level, you're also going to be tracking and reporting on those OKRs regularly to make sure that things are on track, and also to course correct if something's falling behind or something's at risk. And finally, at the end of the quarter, you're going to want to hold some type of retrospective where you look back over your quarter. Some companies will grade their OKRs, how successful they were, but the point is to learn from them and to get better every quarter. So a lot of companies will come to us saying, hey, we want to do OKRs, we want to use software, and they expect that right out of the gate, in the first quarter they do it, they're going to have amazing success. They achieve all their moonshot goals, everything works perfectly. Reality is that it never runs that smoothly, especially your first 1 or 2 quarters. There's going to be a lot of hiccups and a lot of things you need to work through. So it's really important to have that retrospective at the end of the quarter and learn from what you did and find out how you can be better, how you can set better goals, how you can write better objectives, set more measurable key results, how you can assign them appropriately to team members and make sure people aren't overwhelmed with a lot of different goals that are pulling them in different directions. Again, like focus is one of the big things that it's really easy when you first start setting goals to lose focus. So software can help point out which employees, which teams are working on just way too many things. And also another thing to point out here is that, I'm CTO of A-Team. I'm going to be showing you A-Team software, but we're not the only OKR software. So there's great resources out here. There's this website here that we actually maintain called OKRsoftware.com, where you can compare different platforms. A few of our competitors also have websites like this. So I would definitely recommend that you do your research. Each OKR software platform is going to have their own pros and cons, and it's just going to come down to what you really need for your company. So I do recommend that you check out some of our competitors, because they're going to do things that we don't do, and vice versa. And again, like the demos that you're going to see in this presentation are coming in A-Team. So that's my background, and that's the perspective you're going to get today. And of course, read Measure What Matters. We have a book summary there if you're interested in it. All right, so let's jump into this. The first step in the OKR lifecycle. Like I mentioned, this applies to both the initial rollout of the OKR program and for each new quarter that you're planning your OKR. So you start out with a planning and alignment phase. So the first question almost everybody asks me when it comes to alignment is, do we do top-down alignment or bottom-up? And the answer to that question is it's a little bit of both. So the best way the most successful companies that I see are doing a combination where they start out with some executive team meetings, some planning across their departments with their CEO, their VPs, their department leads, and they're going to do some top-down planning that is driven by the business's mission statement, the strategy, strategic pillars, things like that. They're going to create some top corporate goals, and they're going to figure out how the departments need to interact. And again, the focus here is on staying focused, is making sure that you don't have too many different things happening at the top corporate level, because of course, as you go down throughout your organization, you're going to add more and more goals. And if you have 100 things you're trying to do at the CEO's level, then you're going to have 1,000 things you're doing a couple levels below. So that's a complete loss of focus. So you need to focus on the strategy for the quarter that you're planning, and you start top down, but then you want to mix in a little bit of bottom up planning as well, where now that your employees can see what the strategy that they're trying to execute against, your managers and employees can work together to create team goals or personal goals that align up into those top corporate goals. Oops, skipping ahead there. So again, this is just showing you what I mean by taking your business's mission, taking some strategic pillars and converting those into top corporate goals. And I'm now going to jump into our first demo, where I'll show you a couple of different, I'll call them user stories, walking you through typical scenarios that happen within A-Team when you're planning and aligning your OKR. So we're going to cover two. The first one we're going to cover is, what does it look like from an executive planning perspective when you're trying to create your top corporate goals, the top down? And then what does it look like for the employees and managers as they're trying to come up with their goals for the quarter, and they're trying to align bottom up into those top corporate goals? So let me switch over, and you should now see you should now see a team application. So it looks very similar to that last screen, but this is a demo environment, as I mentioned. And as with all demos, there might be a few hiccups, little glitches, some things running a little bit slower in this environment than normal. So bear with me, but this is our alignment chart. And this is where you can see right now in this demo company, all of the Q4 2018 top corporate objectives for this company. So again, let's go through a user story of what does the executive and leadership planning meeting look like when you're trying to set these top corporate goals. Well, first of all, you take your strategic pillars, you take your strategy for the quarter, and at the CEO level, you create these top corporate goals. So for instance, we have one right here, grow the business. At the CEO level, well, how are we going to grow the business? And this is where you start getting the departments involved. You say, okay, sales department, what is your contribution to this? Well, we have a revenue target of 30 million in sales. This is an example of one of those committed goals. And then product, how are you going to get involved in this? Well, this one's a little bit, maybe a little bit more aspirational. It's improve the product to grow upsells. It's also, this objective is a little less concrete, but then the product leadership, Priyanka here, would be responsible for creating metrics and ways to measure whether or not you're actually improving the product and growing upsells. And again, this is a top corporate planning exercise. And then you could start aligning your departments here to your overall company goals. And another important thing to mention here is that OKR software not only allows you to visualize these sorts of alignments, but allows you to do cool, complex things that are a little bit harder to do maybe in an Excel spreadsheet, where you can actually do some like cross-functional alignment. So as an example here, we have a sales goal here and a product goal that helps grow the business. Well, how is the marketing department going to contribute? So let's see. We have Mary Martin here, the VP of marketing, and here's her team goal for Q4 2018. For the marketing team, she wants to help the sales team hit the revenue target. So right there in the objective itself is a cross-functional dependency, a cross-functional alignment. She wants to help the sales team. So one of the cool things you can do in software is things like, okay, well, I actually want to align this. I want to not just say that I'm going to help the sales team. I want to actually contribute to the progress of the sales team's goals. So I'm going to help the sales team hit the revenue targets. I'm going to align me as Mary Martin, the VP of marketing. I'm going to align to that 30 million in sales department goal for Q4. You can create the alignment. And then we come back here and let's see. We'll click on the sales department goal. And there you go. Now you see the third level here. So you have a top corporate goal to grow the business. The sales department committed to this 30 million in sales. And then the marketing department in your top level executive planning meeting decided, okay, we're going to help the sales team and we're going to contribute directly to that goal. So we've created cross-functional alignment here at the department level, at the top leadership level. So that's the executive or leadership top-down planning. What about the bottom-up planning? Well, for that, let's jump over here into Paula Finley. So she's the online ads and SEO manager. So she's in the marketing team. She reports to Mary. So imagine that Paula and Mary are sitting down for a one-on-one at the beginning of Q1, or in this case Q4, and they're talking, okay, how does SEO and our online ad strategy, how does that play into our overall strategy to help grow the business, or in particular the marketing strategy to help the sales team hit the revenue goal? So Paula commits to improving our ads and organic search for the quarter as measured by these 4 different key results. And you'll notice these are pretty well written key results. They're metrics driven, they have numbers in them, which is always a good start. Makes them very measurable, very concrete. And so Paula and Mary, they work together in their one-on-one to come up with what Paula is accountable for the quarter. They come up with ways to measure her success. And then again, with software, you could do the bottom-up planning. So we find the marketing team and we find that goal we were just looking at, to help the sales team hit the revenue target. And now we've done some bottom-up alignment from Paula, who's an employee on the marketing team, into the marketing department goal. And if we jump back here to the alignment chart, we can see the next level here. So now we got the 4th level. We go all the way from top corporate across a couple of departments, all the way down to some employees on the front lines who are actually executing day to day against these strategies. So we see right here, there's Paula Finley's goal. And one of the cool things, different software does this differently. The way A-Team, one of the cool things about A-Team is that we actually have what we call algorithmic alignment, where these contributions, they will actually drive the progress of their parent goal. So in this case, the 47.53% you see here is driven by, it's the average of the progress of all these contributions. So it makes it really easy, especially at the department or at the top corporate level. It makes it really easy to identify things that are on and off track without the CEO or department leads needing to constantly micromanage Will and Paula and Anthony to figure out exactly where they're at. As long as Will and Paula and Anthony are doing their weekly check-ins and updating their progress, it will automatically update the progress of these parent goals. All right, so I'm going to jump back to the slideshow now. And again, that was, we were covering right there how planning and alignment works as you're getting ready to start a quarter. And like I said, it's a combination of top down and bottom up that we see works best for most of our customers. So the next phase is, once you've done the planning, once you've done the alignment, that's great. You've got this beautiful alignment chart going in software, but how are you actually going to execute day to day, week to week within the quarter? Of course, it's not just about planning these goals. You actually have to accomplish them. You have to make progress on them. So planning is just step one. We need to connect these goals to the daily activity that actually drives progress. So how do we connect OKRs to daily activity, and how do we engage our employees at scale? So right here, we got a quote from Andy Grove. He was obviously at Intel, really famous manager and leader, and in many ways, the grandfather of OKRs. John Doerr learned OKRs from Andy Grove. And Andy Grove says here, the key is to set and check in on goals frequently. So it's not enough to just plan goals, to just put them on paper. We have to have living, breathing goals. OKRs work best when you've created a culture around them, a culture around accountability, around check-ins, around collaboration. And this needs to happen week to week, bi-weekly. There needs to be some sort of regular cadence to keep OKRs front and center in people's minds, because that's what unlocks those superpowers where people understand their alignment. They understand what you're focused on. They understand what your company's committed to. And one thing to mention here too is that check-ins go beyond OKRs. Check-ins are actually, there's been a lot of studies on this, a lot of literature in like HR studies, HR analysis done around check-ins and how that drives performance at both the individual employee level and at the company level. And what all these studies have found is that frequent check-ins and feedback, they produce better engagement and results across your company. You know, we have an example here of a study that employees whose managers help them set performance goals are more engaged, and more engaged employees do better work. They're more, they have higher performance, and ultimately, if they're aligned to business goals, the businesses have higher performance. So what I wanted to mention here was just the fact that check-ins, feedback, conversations, these sorts of things are good regardless of whether or not you're doing OKRs. But they're really, really amazing, and they help unlock the superpowers when you pair them with OKRs. Because when you do that, you're not just checking in and giving feedback on any random piece of work your employees are doing. You're checking in and giving feedback on things that are aligned to your business strategy, to your business mission, to your top corporate goals. So it's really important. It's really important within the OKR methodology to tie conversations, feedback, and recognition to OKRs themselves. And again, John Doerr actually devoted the entire second half of his book, Measure What Matters. He devoted it to what he calls CFRs, conversations, feedback, and recognition, because he basically said OKRs alone are great, but when you tie them to this culture around OKRs, this culture around collaboration, that's when you really amplify these superpowers and scale them across your organization. And I really think that this is the biggest area where dedicated OKR software is going to help you, because software can help build the habit. It does this in a lot of different ways. First of all, software has dedicated UX workflows that are specific to OKRs. So in order to get the behavioral change, you need to facilitate those behaviors. And if you just start managing OKRs, maybe via emails back and forth to your employees, via Slack messages, via spreadsheets, things like that, it's really hard to do that at scale across a mid-sized organization. You're going to be passing around a lot of notes, a lot of things can get lost, a lot of check-ins can be forgotten about, things like that. So having dedicated user experience and workflows around OKRs is a really great way to facilitate building this habit. OKR software also has things like notifications where you can ping people in Slack or email reminding them to check in. OKR software also allows you to focus on just the OKRs that your employees are accountable for. So if you are tracking this via a giant spreadsheet, sometimes it's hard for employees to know what are they responsible for, which check-ins are they responsible for. OKR software helps create views and reporting that is specific to each individual team, each individual employee. And finally, it also helps centralize all this information. Obviously, we live in a world with a ton of different data. You're probably already using a ton of different apps to do your work on a day-to-day basis. It could get really hard to track this data over time, to centralize all these conversations if it's living in various different places, email, Slack, your Jira, Workflow, Salesforce, stuff like that. When it's living in a bunch of different places, it's really hard to track all that and keep people accountable. So I'm now going to jump into another example workflow within the ATM application itself. So this user story is about checking in, both from the point of view of the employee and the point of view of the manager. So what does a weekly check-in look like in ATM? Here I'm signing as Joshua. He's the VP of sales. So as the VP, he's also an employee who reports to the CEO. He's just accountable for the sales department goals. You see that ATM will notify you on a week-to-week basis, hey, you have a check-in that's due. Maybe Josh has the Slack integration set up, and so he's going to get pinged in Slack on Fridays. It looks like this one is actually due next week sometime. He'll get pinged that he should. Sorry, there's a question here. Let me just check that out. Oh, looks like somebody's having some audio issues. So Joshua's going to get pinged to check in on his OKRs. He could come in here. He can update the key results that he's responsible for. So, reps maintain active pipeline of 25 ops per month. He could come in here and update how many ops per month they've got here. Looks like 26. Probably one of our sales guys was demoing something earlier, so entered 26 here in our demo environment. And Joshua can also have the conversation and get the feedback from his manager. So Jack Smith here is his manager. Jack Smith, the CEO, is going to ask these questions every week for Joshua, like, how's your progress for this week? And Joshua can give his update, say, well, I'm falling behind a little bit on some of these OKRs. It looks like falling really behind on this 30 million in sales, probably not going to hit that this quarter. So struggling a little bit there. And again, this is about the weekly conversations and building a culture around collaboration, conversations, feedback, and it's all centralized on the OKRs themselves. So it's not just conversations and feedback that happen in a vacuum. It's conversations and feedback that happen with respect to the OKRs that are important for each individual, each team, the company itself. So that's the employee view of the conversation. And again, this is triggered with notifications every single week to help build the habit. On the other side, actually, I'll open that back up. On the other side, let's look at the manager view. So as a manager, what are they seeing? Well, in ATeam, Joshua here, he has two direct reports, Fred and Kelly. And so let's look back. Here's a historical, this is a report from earlier this week where Fred checked in. And so Joshua could come through here and he could see, okay, well, Fred's responsible for this meeting the sales targets in the Western District. So he could see where Fred's at, what is his progress at here. He could say, good job. He could follow up if he needs to follow up on something, make comments here to help motivate or ask questions to Fred to figure out what's going on. And of course, on the manager side, he sees Fred's answers to those same questions. So how's progress this week? Fred says that we have a verbal yes for a deal. And Joshua can, again, interact with it, give feedback, recognition for it, ask questions, have those conversations, and collaborate with Fred on these OKRs. And again, in the same way that Joshua is going to get a notification that he has to do his check-in as an employee, he might get a notification that he has a check-in ready for review. So here in the application, we see like Jack Smith, Josh's manager, reviewed his check-in for the week. Joshua will get an email or a message in Slack saying, hey, Fred submitted his check-in for the week. Go ahead and review that. And again, this is all about building that OKR habit. So jumping back to the slideshow real quick. There we go. So again, this was the conversations, feedback, and recognition portion of OKRs, which again, they're not specific to OKRs. Regular check-ins and feedback aren't, you're not required to do OKRs in order to have regular check-ins and feedback. But when you pair those two together, it really unlocks the superpowers around focus, accountability, connection, collaboration, that sort of thing. So they're really powerful when you combine them. All right, and now we're moving on to the third part of the OKR workflow, and that is tracking and reporting. So this goes back to creating that culture of accountability, and this is also how your managers, your executives, your OKR program leads know that you're actually executing within the company, across the company. This is how you know that you're executing against the goals that you set. So the planning's only worth it if you actually execute on that plan. And tracking and reporting is a really powerful feature of OKR software because OKR software has built-in visualizations. You can have robust querying and filtering systems and data at different views, different levels of the company. So for instance, most software will have views at the top corporate level, the team level, the personal level, and you can slice up and query this data in a lot of different ways. And these are built-in visualizations that are intended. Any good OKR software will make sure that these visualizations, this reporting is actionable. So this is one of those things where if you're doing an ad hoc or OKR program where you're building your own spreadsheets, or maybe you're doing a homegrown solution for OKR tracking, you're going to have a lot of data. It's going to get overwhelming, and it's going to be hard to turn that data into course correction when things are off track, into identifying problem areas, or into identifying people who are doing really well that you want to recognize. It's going to be really hard to pinpoint those different trends happening throughout your organization and then to respond to them appropriately. So dedicated OKR software should have all of this stuff built in. That's one thing I always talk about internally within a team, with our product and design team, is that if we're going to give our customers another visualization, another report, let's make sure that it's actionable. Let's make sure that this can do something, that it can help build the habit of OKRs, that it can help enable managers to not be overwhelmed with data, but just find the right data that will help them take the right action to keep things on track. So we're going to jump into our final little in-app user story here. All right, so for this one, this is actually my favorite one, and maybe it's just because being the CTO of a company, this is kind of something I actually do every single week. I call this use case, this user story, the Monday morning report. So the idea here is that you are an executive or maybe an OKR program lead, and you want to check in every single Monday morning on the progress of OKRs across your company. And sorry, right here, somebody just asked me a question. They had to drop off. They're wondering if the slides are going to be available after this. Yes, we'll get into that. You could, if you need the slides after this, you can email hello@ateam.com for the slides, and I'll put that on at the end of this. But if you do have to drop off, no worries. All right, sorry. So Monday morning report. We're running a meeting every Monday morning trying to check the progress, the health of OKRs across the organization. So in this scenario, maybe I'm Josh, I'm the VP of sales, and the CEO, you're sitting in here with all the other department leads, and you're going department by department trying to figure out how the business is doing. So the CEO looks at me as Josh and says, Josh, how are you doing on sales? How are you doing on your OKRs? And Josh says, well, let's filter here and let's see all of the OKRs behind. And we're going at the department level. Looks like my department level sales goal, it's actually a little bit off track right now. So we were expected to be at 48% right now. We're only at 45%. And so the next thing you want to do is say, okay, well, it's great, first of all, to know that we are on track or off track, but more importantly, do we know why, and do we know how we can correct that? So we'll expand this, and Josh says, well, let's see. Looks like sales east is doing pretty well. But my sales west team, they're pretty far off track. They're supposed to be at 48, but they're only at 35. So let's actually drill down there and see what's going on in sales west. And so we just drilled down and we found that across the board in sales west, all of their OKRs are behind. These are sales OKRs. These are those committed type OKRs. They're very, very concrete. They have hard numbers attached to them. So Josh is going to say, okay, let's check out what one of our individual sales our saleswoman Emma Becker in the West District. Let's see how she's doing. So she's sales rep in the West District, and we're looking at her profile here in A-Team. And so the first thing that we notice is she doesn't have a lot of goals. So it doesn't look like the problem here is around focus. It looks like she's not being distracted with too many key results that she owns or too many different objectives that she's trying to achieve. So it's probably not an issue with focus. It's probably an issue either with execution, or maybe it's just that she's not actually doing her weekly updates within a team. Obviously, the first step in building the habit is getting people to actually care about providing timely, accurate updates on their OKRs. Maybe she's actually crushing it right now in this quarter. She just hasn't updated it in a team in a while. Again, it's tough. It's one of the toughest things that a lot of our customers struggle with is building that OKR habit. Well, how does dedicated software, how does a team help diagnose those sorts of engagement problems? Well, we have something called the engagement report. And here you'll see, again, I'm still signed in here at Joshua. I'm looking at Joshua's sales department, and I could see engagement across his team and honestly across any team that he would want to look at. So the first thing we look at here is, all right, Josh, let's see. Looks like we're actually doing timely check-ins, on-time check-ins. These are the yellow bars pretty much every single week. Looks like we missed 1 week there where Josh has 2 team members where nobody checked in. It also looks like Josh is doing a good job and is reviewing them pretty much every single week. So the problem doesn't seem to be at Josh's sales department level, but maybe there's an issue with Fred's level, right? Because Emma reported to Fred. She was a direct report of Fred. So looking here, we see Fred, and we see that Fred's team check-in rate is 0%. Nobody's checking in on Fred's team. Obviously pointed to a real issue right away. Let's actually drill down into Fred's team and see what's going on. And again, this is all dummy data. It's a demo environment, so completely unrealistic. But obviously the first thing we notice here is that nobody on Fred's team is even logging in, right? Their last activity is in August. So this is completely unrealistic. It begs the question of how they're even updating any progress whatsoever in Q4. But again, this is a way that you would diagnose whether or not the issue's with Emma's execution or whether it's an issue with her just not logging into a team and checking in. And at that point, either Fred or Josh can help coach Emma, explain to her the value of a team across the organization, explain to her that her results really do matter, and here's how they matter because they're connected to the sales department goals. And if she's not achieving her goals, then it's going to be really tough for the sales department to achieve their goals. And one of the really cool things you can see with software, we've kind of seen this drilling down behavior where I'm trying to pinpoint an issue as Joshua as why is the sales department goal falling behind. I could do the opposite too, which is kind of I guess calling it a drill up to see what is the upstream impact of Emma falling behind. So here again, we're looking at Emma's goal for Q4 where she's a little bit behind, and I can jump right to the alignment chart view and see right away all of the impacts upstream, all the way to the top corporate level of Emma falling behind. So again, Emma impacts the sales west goal, sales west impacts the overall sales goal, and that overall impacts the top corporate goal to grow the business. And again, if we wanted to look at, for instance, let's look at that goal that we aligned earlier on the marketing team, you can see the same sort of impact, which is, okay, if Paula, so we were working with this goal from Paula earlier. Well, if Paula's falling a little bit behind, you can also see, again, you see all of these impacts, and you see how Paula affects marketing, marketing affects sales, sales affects top corporate. So again, we can go up and down the organization, drilling down or following the contributions all the way up to the top corporate goal and start diagnosing these issues. And that's one of the really powerful ways that having these built-in visualizations and reporting tools, these querying tools, these actionable views of data, that's how they really unlock these superpowers of tracking things, but also holding people accountable to building the OKR behavior, making OKRs a living, breathing part of your organizational culture, and ultimately giving timely and accurate updates that help your managers and your executives keep the business on track to meet your goals. All right, so jumping back into the slideshow for the final time here. Getting close to the end here, guys, so I hope you're all sticking with me still. Again, so that was tracking and reporting. And to do a little quick recap of what we've covered, especially in the application, we've covered this OKR lifecycle for the quarter. So we started with planning and alignment. Then during the quarter, we have the check-ins, the continuous conversations, feedback recognition, and then we have the tracking and reporting on how that progress is going. Well, at the end of the quarter, you also want to do some sort of retrospective to improve your execution as an organization towards your OKRs. So, like I mentioned, the big caveat is that you're not going to be perfect with OKRs the very first quarter you try. It's a learning experience. And in fact, a lot of the value of OKRs is the learning itself, is the mistakes that you make along the way that expose ways for your organization to be better, to improve the focus, to improve the alignment, to improve the execution. So you don't unlock all the OKR superpowers in the first quarter. It's important that you improve over time. And again, ultimately, OKRs are going to require management buy-in from your leadership and executive team and practice. But software helps here too, because software does a great job, first of all, of tracking your data over time and providing nice, easy readouts of that data so that you can look back at last quarter. You can look back at a year ago and see how you were doing then, how your OKRs were written or executed on a quarter ago, and then use that information, use that data to improve your strategy going forward, your OKR execution going forward. So having that centralized historic data is really, really powerful for learning. And the other thing too that is often overlooked, we're a software company, yes, but one of the things that almost I think all of our competitors also have is that software platforms come with customer success. They come with support, and most of our competitors, and we certainly do, have some level of OKR consultation. So that's one of the biggest value adds that we have as a software company, is that we work with a lot of customers, a lot of different industries. We've probably seen the problems you're going to run into crop up multiple times over the past year across our customers. So as a software company, we're in a great position to help coach you on real world practical solutions to the problems that you're going to run into, and to help you unlock those OKR superpowers. And that's a huge portion of what we do on the customer success side of the house, is to use the experience that we've gained working with a lot of customers and help pass on some of that wisdom to you guys. And it's something that's really hard to do if you're just running your own internal OKR program. Of course, there's great resources, reading you can do, blogs, YouTube videos, things like that. But ultimately, a lot of it tends to be a little bit abstract and doesn't come from actual concrete implementation of OKRs in real world companies. So, all right. So that's pretty much it. Just as a quick recap here, covered a lot of ground. And let me go back here. Again, the whole point of this was, how do we unlock John Doerr's OKR superpowers at scale? So how do we focus and commit? How do we align? How do we track? And then, like I said, we can't necessarily with software force you guys to stretch for amazing, but we do make it a little bit easier for you to track that and to improve over time, so that you can get a little bit better at doing some of these moonshot type goals. So again, that was covered a lot of ground, but here at A-Team, we really believe in OKRs. And me personally, as CTO, I believe that if you want to do this at scale across your organization, it really, really helps to have dedicated software that can help build the habit internally, build the culture internally, and help communicate to all the stakeholders exactly why OKRs are valuable, and help you improve over time at executing. So with that, one thing I do want to mention here is that we do have a Cyber Week deal going on here at A-Team. So for this entire week, if you email us at hello@ateam.com and just put Cyber Week in the subject line, you will be qualified for a free 1.5 hour OKR consultation and the use of our software through the end of 2018 to plan for 2019 for free. So we'll give you the rest of 2018 on the house, and you can start 2019 right with OKR software. And again, all you need to do here is sometime this week, the deal's running all this week, just message hello@A-Team, schedule a demo through there, mention the Cyber Week deal, and if you schedule that demo this week, you'll be qualified for this offer. So with that, thank you guys for taking the time out to listen to this webinar, and I'll open it up to questions. All right, so feel free to go ahead and type in your questions right now if you have any, and I'm going to just start going through the list here that I see in GoToWebinar. So the first one I see is, do you have any coaching in Chicago in December? A lot of questions about your own implementation. Right now, we don't do any in-person coaching for, we only do coaching for our customers. So that's one of the things, like I said, we have the customer success department Sometimes our CEO will even do the coaching themselves. He's a big, he loves OKRs, obviously, as a leader and a manager. But we have a dedicated CS department that does coaching, but it's normally reserved for customers, and we don't really do any travel events around that. Another question, similar. Do you offer train the trainer sessions to help roll out OKRs across the organization? Yep, that's exactly what we do with customer success, which is the training that we do tends to be train the trainer kind of thing, because again, to scale, we can't be training every single employee within your organization. The software is meant to help with that onboarding process, but we do train the trainer, and then of course we have knowledge-based articles that will also help. Question: if we could share this video, this presentation. Yep, there will be a recording available after this presentation. The slides are available. Again, for any and all information about this presentation, about getting a demo of the software itself from an actual salesperson, not just me as a tech person, go ahead and email hello@ateam and they can help you out with that. All right. Do you have software in Spanish? So we actually don't support anything besides English, although, to be honest, if you're using any modern web browser, like Chrome, for instance, has really, really awesome in-browser translation to any language, actually. So, no actual Spanish localization for ATeam itself, but most browsers can help you out with that. I have a question here around training sessions and pricing. Yeah, so for pricing information, again, I would recommend that you reach out to hello@ateam.com or just check out our website at ateam.com. You can get pricing information there. You can also book a demo directly from there and see some other case studies, things like that. Question around: how is ATeam different from competitors? Really good one. Like I mentioned, there's actually a few. So I would say that OKR software falls into this larger umbrella of continuous performance management software. So there's a lot of different companies in that space. A lot of traditional HR companies are migrating into that space because, as I'm sure you guys know, being on this webinar, there's this move from annual performance review cycles to more regular check-ins. So a lot of competitors will specialize in different things. ATeam's one of the few that is dedicated to OKRs, and so there's a lot of companies now that they will market themselves as OKR companies. They really just do generic goals, which is perfectly fine. I would say ATeam really stands out if you want to do true OKRs. We also, I mentioned during the presentation when I was showing the alignment chart, the algorithmic alignment. It's what we call it internally. Probably just a cool buzzword, but that's a really cool feature that we have that not a lot of our competitors have, where the progress of an aligned goal will drive the progress of the parents. That's very popular for CEOs, for executives. One of the hardest things is that executives oftentimes will not be able to check all the different systems to update the key results that drive the progress of those top corporate goals. So your VP of sales might not want to be jumping into Salesforce every single week to update the progress of all the different salespeople that report into them. So it's really cool to have that algorithmic alignment where the salespeople themselves, they could just update their own individual progress, and then that can drive the progress of the VP of sales goal. Okay, got another question here. Which is the best book you would recommend for developing and implementing performance management systems with practical tips? There's a lot of good ones on that. I mean, honestly, I tend to be me personally. I tend to be more of a blog person, so I think there's a lot of good blogs, or you look on Medium or something for practical tips on continuous performance management. Also, one of the best ways to actually get this sort of information is for you to check out some of the products in this space, because almost all the products on the website, like I know ATeam, we have a lot of resources on our website. So one of the quickest ways to find some resources about continuous performance management or OKRs, that sort of thing, is just go to the websites of some of the products that specialize in this. Obviously, there will be a slight bias to the things that they do well, but that's a really cool way to get some quick reading with practical tips. Again, because one of the cool things about software that's different than, say, talking to a consultant is that software companies are rolling this out to lots of real organizations. And so a lot of our advice is going to be very practical, as opposed to theoretical, abstract, or kind of classroom style teaching about OKRs or continuous performance management. Do we offer this webinar in Spanish? Unfortunately, no. I took 4 years of Spanish in high school and I don't remember much of it. So unfortunately, I can't give this webinar in Spanish. I apologize. All right, anything else? Last minute questions here, guys? And as I said, if you do have any questions after this webinar, ping us over at hello@ateam.com and somebody will get back to you pretty quickly. Like I said, we got the Cyber Week deal going on right now. It's a great opportunity to get started on your OKRs for 2019. Again, we're giving away the rest of 2018 for free. So it'll give you a month here, a little less than that, I guess, with the holiday season to start planning your OKRs for 2019. Okay. With that, I'm going to go ahead and close down the webinar. So thank you guys again for attending. And wish you guys happy holidays and much success in 2019 if you're starting the OKR program. Thanks, guys.